When we think of the great rulers of the ancient world, names like Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar come to mind. But centuries earlier, in Mesopotamia, another king left a mark so great that his legend survives in both archaeology and the Bible. Nebuchadnezzar II, king of Babylon. He was the ruler who built magnificent temples, expanded his empire across the Near East, and left behind one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. He was feared, respected, and remembered as one of history's most powerful monarchs. But according to ancient sources, this mighty king suffered a shocking downfall. In the middle of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar lost his mind. He abandoned his throne, lived like an animal in the wilderness, ate grass like cattle, and let his hair and nails grow wild. For 7 times, he vanished from human society, until one day his sanity returned. This story is known as the Madness of Nebuchadnezzar, a tale that sits at the crossroads of history, religion, and psychology. The main account comes from the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. Daniel was a Jewish exile living in Babylon, and his writings describe Nebuchadnezzar as a king filled with pride. He boasted of his great city and his unmatched power. According to Daniel, God punished that arrogance. Daniel 4:33 describes the moment clearly. He was driven from men and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. It's a disturbing image. The most powerful man in the world reduced to crawling in the fields, drenched in rain, half wild, forgotten by his people, and yet, after a set period, 7 times, often interpreted as 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar regained his reason, praised the God of heaven, and returned to rule Babylon once more. So did this really happen? That's the big question. On one hand, the book of Daniel is a religious text, written with a strong moral purpose. The message is clear. Arrogance leads to destruction, and only humility before God restores greatness. To some historians, the story is symbolic, not a literal history, but a parable. But there's another side. Ancient Mesopotamian chronicles are fragmentary, but some do hint that during Nebuchadnezzar's later years, the king disappeared from the record. In fact, after around 582 BC, fewer inscriptions and building projects bear his name. Could this silence reflect a period of instability explained in the Bible as his madness? Modern medicine has also been drawn into the mystery. Some scholars suggest Nebuchadnezzar may have suffered from a mental illness. One theory is clinically lycanthropy, a rare psychiatric condition where a person believes they have transformed into an animal and behaves accordingly. Others point to porphyria, a disease known to cause mental disturbances, or even severe depression triggered by the immense pressures of empire. There's also the idea of temporary insanity from neurological disease. Strokes, infections, or even epilepsy could have produced symptoms resembling the description in Daniel. The striking detail of hair like eagle's feathers and nails like claws could simply describe the physical neglect of a man who abandoned civilized life for years. Whether divine punishment or medical condition, the fact that such a story survived for centuries suggests something extraordinary happened. Nebuchadnezzar himself was no ordinary man. He ruled Babylon for over 40 years, defeating Egypt, conquering Jerusalem, and exiling the Jewish people, an event that shaped biblical history. He transformed Babylon into the greatest city of its age, with massive walls, dazzling temples, and the legendary hanging gardens. And yet, at the height of his glory, tradition says his mind broke. The irony is sharp. The man who built one of the wonders of the world reduced to grazing like an ox. The man who boasted of his empire humbled into silence. What makes this story even stranger is how it ends. Unlike most kings who suffered disgrace, Nebuchadnezzar's tale includes redemption. He was restored to sanity, returned to the throne, and reigned until his death in 562 BC. Few ancient rulers have such a dramatic arc, from greatness to madness and back again. Even today, scholars debate, was this a historical illness, a political crisis wrapped in myth, or a parable crafted by Jewish scribes to teach humility? We may never know for sure, but the image of the king of Babylon crawling through the fields like an animal is unforgettable. It shows us something timeless. Even the most powerful people in history were vulnerable to forces they couldn't control, whether divine will, disease, or the fragility of the human mind. So, the next time you hear about Nebuchadnezzar, don't just think of the hanging gardens or the conquest of Jerusalem. Remember the other story. The king who went mad, who ate grass with the cattle, and who returned from the wilderness forever changed. If you enjoyed this exploration of one of ancient history's strangest mysteries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Forbidden History, and tell us in the comments, what other ancient tales should we uncover next?